And we're live. Wow. There wasn't a countdown, Darren. I'm doing something wrong. You see, I cannot do it without you.
All right.
All
No, we
right.
we don't have it in there, but next time we will. How's that?
Yeah, that's
Nice.
perfect.
We
Um,
don't need a countdown. We have Yermi with us,
Well,
we
there
have
you go.
Yermi.
and that's amazing. I'm really excited. Yermi, you're here. I'm excited. I'm here. I have had a rough couple weeks, and every
Mm.
time I'm around Doctor Octo and guys like you, Yermi, I feel better physically, mentally, spiritually, and so a big Gala Kasla, and thank you to you, my friends. I
Sure.
appreciate you deeply. And
I'm
this is
so
always
happy
a
Yermi
wild
is here,
time. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I'm so happy he's here. And Yermi and I spoke for the first time this week, and I said immediately to Yermi, "Oh, you need to be in our show. You're
Yeah.
too funny. This is too good." And
Mm.
and I will share what happened. So we always ask for our guests, Darren, bring a guest with you. So we invite Yermi and then bring a guest with you. And Yermi said, "I will bring my business partner with me." Okay. And then no, he's not available. I said, "Oh, bring your wife." I don't know why I said that, and I just now discovered why I said that. Look how beautiful this couple is, but she's
Wonderful.
not coming, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But Yermi, tell us about this picture. I think there's a story, and I think that's the best
Yes.
way to start today's nonlinear shenanigans. Yermi,
Yes.
who is this? We recognize you with a glass of champagne, but who is the
Yep.
gorgeous woman?
Yeah. So actually, this is a funny story. They actually convinced me to drink champagne because this is literally perhaps the most happiest day of my life. My wife, Liam Kurkus, or well, now she's a Kurkus. She's a Pullman originally. At this point, she's a Liam Pro Pullman. Says yes to me when I ask her, um, does she want to get married to me? And the way actually I asked it was in a very, very unconventional way. So I get down on on the knee, the normal way how everybody else does it. But instead of asking her, will you marry me or some other poetic way, I look at her and I say, do you want to join me on a journey of changing this world and making it a better place?
Wow.
And literally, those were that was my question. Do you want to be my partner in making this world a better place? And she said, absolutely yes. So that was that picture. That was how that happened. And the reason why that is so impactful was simply because when I decided to date and to marry, this was after working almost a decade in the prison system, getting my degrees, doing all the stuff that I was doing, um, really, really taking. I had a trauma in at a certain point, and then overcoming the trauma, changing my life, and then saying, now I really want to be an impact on this world. But I would love a business there was a business partner, but I also wanted a life partner that shared the same vision as I did. So I was very intentional with how I was dating. And so I write this 4-page description of this ideal person who matches this ideal life that I want to live. Now, the way it works in my culture, in my circles, is that we go to matchmakers, and matchmakers typically help us get married. So I give the matchmaker this 4-page paper, and the matchmaker looks at me and tells me, "You're nuts. Like, this is not how it works."
How
You know,
does it work normally?
right? So normally it's this. You actually have a resume, literally. You write
Yeah.
up a resume of who you are, your accomplishments, stuff like this, what you're looking for, ideally in a spouse. But you have to be very, very general and broad. So you can't be too demanding, or as they call it. So you cannot be too specific with the person you want to meet. That's typically how the matchmakers expect you to do it. I thought, on the other hand, that being more specific would be more helpful to the matchmaker. I thought.
And for you.
Um, I was wrong,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
So, very, very long story short, otherwise, you're going to have to read the actual book. I get blacklisted from the matchmaking world
Oh.
in my community. Okay?
I like that.
So, simply because I have this dream person, in my mind, and everybody thinks I'm completely crazy, and everybody tells me that you're a dreamer and this doesn't exist. This woman doesn't exist.
Jeremy, can I ask you a question? So before you continue, I'm dying to know. So normally, if you would behave and just write your resume and a few things, do you write down like I want her to be, um, I don't know, wear glasses, very distinguished. I want her to have a feeling for art, or I want her to have small ankles, whatever.
Yeah.
Are you writing down these kind of things or not?
So in my 4-page paper, I did.
You
Not
did,
in
yes,
the
but
official-
normally, no.
No, not in the official resume. In the official resume, it's pretty much. So I'm. This is who I am. I was typically a good student. Here are like in it. So I have a rabbinical degree. So I list the rabbinical, ordinations that I have or whatever it is. Here's my background. And I typically like to go to the park or whatever, something like this, and I would love a woman that appreciates that. Something like that.
Yeah.
Very, very broad, very, not very specific. Let's put it this way. My paper was so freaking specific. It listed her hair color. I mean, it listed everything, and not that it really mattered to me so much, but it was more. It was more to be. It was more about being specific and being clear on what I wanted.
Did
So
you
it wasn't.
ask for a huge smile? Did you ask
That was
for
actually the very top of my list. Actually,
really?
yes,
Wow,
actually,
that
yeah.
worked.
So, well, that's how I met her. I met like,
Hmm.
so I was told to go to this New Year's Eve party. Okay, and it was so out of my comfort zone. I'm not the kind of party person like that. Like that's just not me. And a friend of mine was just like, "No, you have to go. You have to go. You have to go." Little did I know that he had a play in the matter of like trying to set up this girl to be there, whatever. But that's besides the point. But he convinced me to go to this party, and I'm standing in the corner, totally out of my element, totally not in my comfort zone. And it's one of the things that I tell people, show up regardless, but just always show up. So I showed up despite of my comfort level. And I'm standing in the corner of a room, and all of a sudden, from the side, like from the far end, I see this girl just with this massive smile on her face. And I'm like, who is that? Just who is like that smile? It's just like something about the smile. And so I said, I have to just go talk to this girl, see who she is, who is this person? So I
Wow, that's
the room through the,
something. You're
yeah,
not in your comfort zone. You see
no,
a smile and you think, "Screw the comfort zone. I'm going for it." That's
yeah.
that's quite something.
I really just wanted to see what about her makes her so happy. Like I just
Hmm.
never met somebody, and you could tell, you could just simply tell from somebody's energy, I guess, that they're really intrinsically and truly happy. And
Mhm.
I was just like, who
Hmm.
is this person? I need to just say hi, even just to say hi.
More
And
than
then
a smile, it was like a radiating of
radiating, yeah.
joy almost. Hmm.
She was the most radiating person in that room, authentically. I mean, just like really, truly, not because I ever thought of making her my wife or anything like it had nothing to do with me, to be honest with you, because that night I actually wrote her off. Her dream was to live in Israel at the time, and we met in Israel. I was there just visiting, and I was going back to America. And I just said, "Oh my goodness, your dream is to live in Israel. I would never
Hmm.
take away your dream. Who am I to be the kind of guy that says, I want to date you or whatever? I'm going back to America. I'm not planning on living in Israel. Um, and so I told her it was great meeting you. Have a nice day, pretty much. And that was the end of it. We just stayed in touch, and it turned out things, happened and whatever.
Did
And
you
when
tell
she,
her I love your smile? So we'll stay, good luck, stay in Israel. I'm going back to the States, but by the way, I love your smile. Did you say something like that?
not like that, because I'm not that direct like that. I wish I
Oh,
were,
that's very
but
Dutch. Yeah.
something similar. I wanted somebody happy in my world, so I definitely wanted her still in my world, one way or another. I just didn't know how at the time. And and that's the reason why I just stayed in touch with her, and I just wanted to just get to know another happy person. And just one thing led to another, and one day she just says, "Okay, I'm coming to America to date you," and I'm like, "Oh no, you don't. You don't give up your dream. Like, don't do that, you know." And then she's like, "No, no, no. My dream is to marry somebody." Well, she, in her words, so I'm just going to quote her, somebody special. And she says, "I see something in your soul that I'm just curious to find out more about." And so she made her decision. She said, "My bigger dream is to meet somebody that has a good soul." So she effectively came to America, and we started dating here. And then I said, "Listen, if this is your dream, my ultimate dream is to be a positive impact on the world. Would you want to join me on that journey?" And that picture, she said yes. So that's how that happened.
Wow.
That's
and,
awesome.
and here we are. What is it? 3 years ago?
So yeah, next week is our 3-year wedding anniversary. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Too
Congrats.
bad she couldn't be with us.
I know. She was really apologetic. She did realize, like, oh, it is on my calendar, but I completely forgot, and she got involved in a project that she just couldn't leave. So
It's okay. But it would have been a very interesting twist. And then we would say, and here she is, and then she
That would have
comes
been
up on
cool.
stage, you're like, oh God, what? And then tell us your version, because there are always two versions of the story.
Well, you're gonna have to watch. I have a live show. Where she actually was interviewed.
Yeah.
We interviewed her, and she does give her side of the story. So definitely check out that live show. It's, I think, episode 18, if I'm not mistaken.
On
So
your
We will
YouTube.
check it out.
yeah, on
Yeah.
YouTube, the Exceptionally Irresistible Show, episode 18, and you're gonna see Leon Kurkus. So she's our
Awesome.
guest. Yeah.
Too cool. And you're going to write a book about this story together
Yeah,
with her.
no, so I wrote the book myself. She was not involved with this particular book. She's involved with a second book. She is involved with a second book that we're writing, what we call Real Asian Ships. So it's a play on words.
Yeah.
But basically yeah, it was a Basharat, exactly. So Basharat, by the way, for those who don't know, is Hebrew for meant to be.
Meant to be. Yeah.
Yes, so definitely that's true. And so we are writing our second book together, but the first book is really about achieving your impossible dream. So don't ever allow people to tell you it's impossible or whatever, or because that's what they told me about this woman. And let me tell you, it took me 6 years of dating, 6 years to find her, and I did everything. And basically, I write this book of 10 steps that I took, that I did, to achieve this impossible dream. And the main purpose of the book is to show parallels of what I'm doing today in achieving that impossible dream of my business. So everything I did to attract this ideal woman in my life, I'm actually doing in one shape or form to do also in my business. And so I basically challenge the reader to find the way that works for you. Just because this particular, journey that I went on worked for me, doesn't necessarily mean it works for everybody. But there are things that perhaps you could learn from what I've done and what I'm actually doing right now, to potentially, you could be creative and you could draw from and maybe test in your life. Or, I mean, I don't know, but there are challenges, there are questions in every chapter to just get your brain at least to start thinking. So we actually signed the contract with the publisher today. So we're gonna get our date of when it's actually coming out very soon. So we're very excited about that. So everything
Nice
works
work.
in a Basharat time, as Mark said. So
Yeah.
today's Basharat.
So cool. And do you think then that I want to understand better, everything is achievable? So you think everything you want, you can achieve?
1,000,000%, yes.
1,000,000%, Darren.
1,000,000%.
1,000,000%. That's
Yeah.
a lot. You're convinced.
1,000,000%, yes.
Yeah.
I tell this to people: everything I've ever said I will do, I either have done or am in the middle of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I've ever said to myself, like since I was 6 years old. I mean, when I was 6 years old, I have a video of it, actually, a real, true, VHS video. For those who don't know what that is, Google search
Yeah,
this.
yeah, the
But
cassette, you need to push in
cassette,
that device and then
exactly.
it goes down,
Yep,
and then you
yep,
press play and you pray to God that everything goes well. Yeah.
yep. So my mom bought a video camcorder,
Hmm.
and she took a video of us, and she would interview us. She was doing these interviews, and there's an interview
Wow.
there, and it asks, Yermi, what is the name of your wife? And just for fun, just like a joke, right? So I say Shira, and she's like, okay. And where do you live? I say Los Angeles. And in the video, my mother even goes like, how do you even know of Los Angeles? You're only 6 years old. And we were living in Canada at the time. It's like, how do you know of it? And so long story short, so I got married at 19 years old to a Shira.
No
Um,
kidding.
yes, I did. And I ended up moving to Los Angeles in 2011. So, and it just was this thing of like, I just love the name Shira. So I always used to say, I will either have a wife or a daughter named Shira, which I had a wife named Shira, the first woman I married. And then I said I was going to go move to LA, and people thought I was crazy, and they thought I wanted to be an actor, which I did not want to be an actor, but I wanted to work with actors, which I ended up working with actors. And again, everything I've ever said I will do, I either did or am in middle of doing. So if you
What
set your mind to something, it's achievable.
what is your fascination for actors? Why did you want to work with actors?
That is a funny question, actually. So the people that I was talking to, so in Canada, for example, we look at Hollywood, or I guess anybody really outside of Hollywood says, "Ooh, the glimmer and the glitzy and the whatever." And I was very young at the time; I was a teenager. So I just never saw it as like. I always said, "Well, the actors work for somebody, right?" So I mean, they're just the face that you actually see, but there has to be somebody in the background. And I always was the kind of person that I was always in the background of everything I've ever done. So I said I will become a movie producer, which I actually did produce a film, and I actually through my prison work, I worked with the nonprofits that these actors have. So I ended up working with a lot of these actors who, from a nonprofit, from a nonprofit section of what they're doing, the stuff that you don't see on screen. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Mhm.
They do things good for the world.
There
They're
are things,
famous, they're wealthy, and they want to contribute in a positive way to the world, and they set up
correct.
nonprofits. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some of them. I'm not saying that all of them are this way, but there are some that are extremely generous and extremely incredible people. And I had the privilege to work with them. And that to me was the greatest way to be associated to quote unquote celebrities.
Yeah.
And secret, but they just want to be treated as human. That's actually all they ever wanted. And I was able to do that. Thank God, it was a blessing. But it was also because that's the capacity that I was working with them in.
Hmm.
Um, but we were working on a very humanitarian capacity, so it allowed me to treat them and to work with them as humans. So that was a crazy, incredible experience. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's
What
pretty
makes it
cool.
so difficult for people not to treat them like humans? Is it the adoration? Is it people go nuts when they see them?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that
So
it?
average celebrity, when they walk on the road, they will either get ear breaking screaming, okay, like or like people are like, and they're getting all of these looks. And I'll be honest with you, actually, it was the very first time in my life that I ever got this. It was about a week or two ago, no, 2 weeks ago now. I was randomly invited to a success summit to come speak there. I come there, and all of a sudden this person in the lobby goes, oh my god, are you really Yermi Kurkus? Oh, and I'm like, wait, what?
What's
Like,
happening?
no, and like just no, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And he really treated me that way, and I was just like, what's up? And he's like, yeah, I follow all your stuff on LinkedIn. You're amazing, and I watch all your YouTube videos, and I do all that stuff, and like crazy fan, okay. And I'm like, Hi, what's your name? My name is Yermi Kurkus. Let's start this all over again. Like, don't do this to me. This is
How are
not
you doing
cool.
today? Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm grateful to be even in your presence. So let's talk about you now.
Yeah.
And so that it's and these celebrities, to be honest with you, they don't want to be treated this. Those people that I worked with that I could talk to from first experience. I don't know about other people, but the ones that I worked with, you know, like they want to be just treated normal, human. They just want to be treated average people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
When we spoke this week, Jeremy,
Hmm.
we spoke about the corporate world as well, and you said
Hmm.
something that immediately triggered me, and we were sharing that, like, oh, that's a very nonlinear thought. Um, what's happening with the corporate world? What's happening in the world in with your
Hmm.
perspective? Can we talk about that now? How the corporate world is sleeping? How they're really not paying enough attention right now? I'm so curious how you see that, and if you want to
Yeah.
share that with us.
So I personally think that the corporate world is stuck in 1929 or in that era. That's personally what I think. They forgot that the world continues, and they forgot that we're in 2022 now, and they missed the boat. So that's what I personally think, and I say that because I was reading a book. It's currently out of print, so if you ever find it on Amazon, grab it and and illuminate it or whatever. But it's a book called "Search for Meaning in the Workplace," and I read this book, and it was written, I think, in 1996, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a statistic that book gives, and it gives numbers, and these are statistics from 1994. Now
Mhm.
I'm reading this book in 2000 and something, like I think it was 2018, 2019, I think it was. I'm reading this book and I Google search this statistic from 1994, and the numbers have not changed. And I said, wait, what? What? And every single year I check Gallup. The Gallup is the statistic that I
Yep,
looked at.
yep, yep.
Gallup 2021, I think, is the last statistic that there is. I just Googled it, and it says 70% of employees are not happy at work. They're
Yeah,
just not engaged. They're not working. 90% of employers are not satisfied with the performance levels of their employees. That's 90%. That's literally 9 out of 10 people. Okay, just to
yeah.
get that picture.
That's
About
seriously
it's
everybody,
it's
right?
yeah, that's seriously everybody. Okay, nobody's happy with their employees. Okay, the majority of employees are not even working. Okay, billions of dollars, like over 700 billion, I think is the latest number, is lost in potential productive revenue. um, I think it's currently at 25%. One in four people are leaving their jobs, either left or leaving or whatever it is. I think the number now is also $1 trillion is being spent in the economy to retain or to attract talent. And these numbers have not changed much since 1994. 1994 numbers was 62% of people are not happy. So you're telling me by 8%, we got worse by 8%. That's what effectively that actually means. $500 billion in 1994, today's $700 billion, which with inflation, it's the exact same number. So, effectively. Um, why? Why have we not fixed this problem in the last, what is it, 30 years?
Yeah,
What's wrong with us as a society? What's going on?
yeah,
And so that led me to change an entire career to go solve for that issue. And I just simply said, there's a revolution happening. And this is articles that I wrote way before COVID, by the way. I said there is going to be a day when employees are just going to give up. They're no longer willing to be abused by their employers. They're no longer willing to fall under this, becoming slaves to their jobs. They're going to realize that they have a life outside of work. They're
hmm,
going to realize that they have loved ones, spouses, children, whatever. They're going to realize all this stuff. And to freaking take your child to a doctor because your child is not feeling well is going to cost you, like like you also have a life outside of work. You know what I mean? And so I said this day is coming when employees are just going to revolt and the great resignation because of COVID. I don't think so, but yeah. So I think the corporate world is going through a major shift, and those in the corporate world, those leaders in the corporate world who don't wake up to this shift are going to be left in the dust, and they're going to be stuck in 1929, and they're just going to miss the boat of the next, I don't know, however many years. So that's my personal analysis on it.
You're me
So,
as a fellow person living in the United States. What do you think about the same idea of this corporate identity with our capitalism and imperialistic ideas, how we founded this country and where we are today? I mean, to me,
mhm,
I have a Native American perspective of this. So to me, I can sit back and watch this happen over time and I can compare.
sure.
And I've had several companies and I've been in the corporate, I've been on both sides. And I
Hmm.
too, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. But as you're saying it, I'm saying, wow, these things are, in my mind, the same in our government. And what is your idea of that? And what is what do we do as a community to grow out of this?
Hmm. Yes. So my very first response to that is without getting political, because I stay away from politics. The reason why, because to me, politics is something that creates a separation. So there's the right
Absolutely.
and there's the left. That's how this works. You have two camps,
And
and
and here I'm talking big picture. I'm talking
yeah,
White House and the Capitol, and we don't know who's inside,
yeah,
and we're just in
and
this country, you and me. And
yeah.
is it?
And I'm
And what do
saying
you think of that? You
So I'm
know?
saying there's nothing I could do about what goes on in Washington. Thankfully, I don't live there, and thankfully,
Right.
I don't live in the White House. And I say that very thankfully, uh, because again, it's all about separation. That's what
Yeah.
politics to me, the way I see politics, it's all about getting votes for your team. That's what it is, and there's no playing with the other side. That like the other side is the enemy. The other side is bad. That's how I've always seen politics, and that's why I stay away from politics. I absolutely love business because business is the exact opposite. Business is all about unity. So it's about coming together as a community. It's about coming together as a humanity. Unfortunately, corporate in particular, America, because that's the one I've studied, um, shifted away a little bit from that and allowed politics to influence its system, its way of working. And so I think capitalism has been tainted with this idea of separation because it's not supposed to be that way. The whole principle of capitalism, the way I see it, is that capitalism is meant to make us all successful together. It gives us each this unique ability, or we're all individuals, part of a greater whole. So I have a tagline that I actually wrote for a song: "Together united, we'll never be divided." So when we come together as a community, together as a unity, we can never get divided. Which means I'm an individual that sees a need in the world. There's a problem in the world. I am creative enough because of my individuality to come up with a solution for this problem. Okay, I have a fingerprint, so I'm the only one with this fingerprint, so that makes me unique. But I'm going to create something that's going to be the good, the force for the greater good.
Hmm.
But I cannot do it by myself. I need other individuals to help me do that. So I need their individualities to help me. So, for example, I'm not good with accounting. I'm going to hire an accountant who's an expert in accounting, right? And I'm going to hire a marketing individual because that's the expert in marketing. And if we all come together as individuals, but of a greater good, individuals within a community, then we could create an abundance in the world. And I don't see that happening in politics. I don't see that happening elsewhere. That's just from an observer perspective.
Right.
Um, but in what I like to call conscious capitalism, which should be the way of the world, in my personal opinion, or the way I practice, um, that is the sense of we all should thrive and live an incredible life together. So that's my personal take on it.
I think I'm tracking and I'm with you in the politics side of things as well. I'm sort of the public enemy, black flag era. I grew up questioning everything. And then I don't know how I ended up in the Marines, because I was never, I never thought like that, but I had to fall fully into this system, right? The reason the Marine Corps works is because the little guys on the bottom learn to community. And when I don't have anything, like, oh no, we're splitting this. You need help digging this hole. Hey, everybody, we're all digging this hole before we go to bed or before anyone eats. Now, there's a lot of negative and things on the outside of that were encouraged that I don't agree with anymore. No, and I'm a nonviolent person. I've laid down all the arms in my life and replaced them with turntables and guitars and all kinds of bullshit. So I agree with this, you like non-political and the observing. But what really strikes me, what you're saying, is the community aspect of the corporate world, and how that is the opposite of our government. But in old governments that really worked great, the government was the community and the community was the government. And I don't feel like we have that here. I know, Perry, it's not like that where you are. In Europe, a lot of those places, it's like it is here, I guess. You only can get so far as an individual, and then it's over. Like, you can't really do a lot unless you're have a huge voice projecting behind you.
Listen, it's even worse here than with you guys.
Yeah,
in Europe.
I was sort of messing with you because I know every person I talk to, like you said the other day on a call, that a lot of people are trying to get out of that area for their own specific reasons. And to be honest with who our listeners, there's a lot of people in the United States feeling the same way right now, and they're like, I gotta go somewhere. But that's not helpful either, right, Yermi? What we need is community. We need those people that are evacuating, that hate what's happening, to talk to the people that are doing what's happening and meet in the middle. And that's what we don't have, is this community. Certainly what we're trying to do here with the Octopus movement is create a global community that doesn't allow discrimination or division or those things. And when we have an issue, we can come together and work through those issues. Maybe we develop things in 5 years that are problem solving the world, like how Buckminster Fuller developed some things like that are still changing the world today. He's the guy that did the geodesic dome. His whole mentality was, if I'm going to build something, I need to use the least amount of materials, and whatever I'm building, I have to remember that it's going to affect generations behind me. If I made something out of metal, I ripped it out of the ground. I used diesel to do that. I used all these things. And we've lost the idea of what we are doing every day and what we're touching actually has an effect on everything, Okay. And if we had more of a community identity, I think it allows us to learn from people instead of replacing it with division, and I want more of that in my life. I know you do. I'm really curious. Are you sitting in like quiet and prayer time and like writing manifestos for this, like you did for your wife?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah.
Good
absolutely.
question. Very good question. Is it also 4 pages? Like, this is where we need to go.
Longer, way longer.
Yeah.
So I cannot talk for politics because I'm absolutely no expert in politics.
Yeah.
Like absolutely not.
None of us
Um,
are here, and none of
yeah.
us
So I
care.
mean, I don't know.
I don't want to go there. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't know much history about politics. I don't know much about that kind of stuff. I never was interested in it. I was never drawn to it. Never ever drawn to anything politics. And perhaps it's just the way my upbringing was. Maybe I don't know what it was, but so I cannot talk for politics. And when I say that it's a sense of separation, it's absolutely just observation over the course of my 30 something years on this earth. This is what I've seen, you know. So that's where I'm drawing my conclusion from. Where I'm pretty much an expert in is when it comes down to business. So I grew up in business all my life. Almost everybody in my family are business entrepreneurs. You know, everybody has something that they're doing in terms of business. And I've seen, like I'm gonna hire my friend because I want him to get the business because I love my friend, and if my friend does this, just today we have a renovation project that we're doing on our home. I called up my friend who's a contractor. I said, "Hey, I want to give you first dibs. You give the first bid. Before I call any other contractor, I'm going to call my buddy because I want him to succeed. I want him to do well. If I'm going to find a better deal, that's just business, but my friend is always going to be the first that I'm going to call. So that to me is a unity type of thing. And when I was working in the prison system, one of the biggest problems in the prison system and the reason why there's such high recidivism rate is because, it really burns down to these individuals who in prison, life is easy for them. If they had a bad life, before prison, whatever the reason why they caused their crime, just for you to know, and this for the listeners, is that there are very, very little bit. There's not that many super crazy people in prison, just by the way.
Can I say something about that, which I find stunning that I just discovered? In the UK, 75% of the inmates have neurodiversity.
Wow, that's crazy.
75%. Now, this is my theory. Because your nonlinear thinking doesn't fit into the linear society and people
Wow.
don't understand you, you get into trouble. It's
Mm.
maybe oversimplified for me to say that,
Sure.
but when I heard that 75% do have neurodiversity, ADHD, bipolar, whatever,
Right.
holy shit. Yeah, that's a lot. That's not a coincidence anymore. 75%. We need to do something about that. Nobody's doing anything because in the normal standard, we're normal. We don't talk about these things. We don't have neurodiversity when you're normal and successful. And when you're normal, you're at the corporate world, you're at government and whatnot. And please don't look at these crazy people.
No, exactly
I
that.
thought it was amazing when I heard that.
There's-
But please continue. Yes.
Yeah, it's huge. Mental health in the prison system is massive. Massive. It's I call it a huge warehouse of it's basically the new version of the mental asylum that, many parts of America has gotten rid of. It became in prison today.
Yeah.
The people that I met over there, I met some incredible people who were just in the wrong place in the wrong time, just wrong situation, not so much their fault, if you will. They were a product of their circumstance and their society and their stuff. And yeah, they went down a wrong road and they did something terrible. There's a lot of stuff like that, and it's crazy, unfortunately. But what I really want to say is that, okay, so somebody paid their due to society, they spent their time in prison. Now what? Now they're released back into society. Now what? And
It's got even worse, right? So you're being misunderstood before you go into prison, then you go wrong, and then you go into prison, and then you get an extra label.
Mhm.
Good luck.
And now forget about a job in a normal.
Forget
in
about
any
everything.
normal thing, okay?
Right.
Because one of the questions is, were you ever incarcerated? And then just forget about it. And guess what? Somebody who stole from a local grocery store now cannot even get a job anymore because he was incarcerated for, let's say, a year or two. Now is trying to get back into society, but nobody wants to look at him or her or whatever. How are they meant to survive? The
Yeah.
only way they know is to go rob again and end up in prison again, because guess what? In prison, they're getting everything for free.
Yeah.
They're getting free meals, they're getting free shower, they're getting free housing, they're getting free everything,
You don't have to
taxpayer
worry about
dollars.
anything. Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about anything. So it's better to be in prison than to be outside of prison for these people who don't have any support and who don't have any help.
Well,
Wow.
And what are we supposed to do? Are we now going to go and fall back on our government to go do this, to go help? I don't think so. I think that conscious, good businesses should come up and step up to the plate and say, we don't like this. This is a problem in the world. Let's fix this problem and let's hire incarcerated individuals with certain support and resources and whatever. Obviously, there are systems that need to be put in place. But at least let's give them a chance. Let's get them off the road. Let's give them a life. Let's give them something to look forward to. Let's give them meaning. Let's give them purpose. Let's give them something. And the only person I could think of who's doing that right now, I mean, there are many people who are doing it, but the one who's doing it on a massive scale is actually Richard Branson from the Virgin Group. They did a study. They did a test. The Virgin Trains in the UK did a test, and they partnered up with a prison, and they were hiring these incarcerated individuals who are due to come out very soon, and these people's life have completely transformed. And I think that's how business is supposed to be done. And Virgin is doing extremely well, just by the way, and they're not getting hurt in their business, and they're not waiting around for governments to come fix the world. If you're waiting for a government to fix something, keep on waiting. That's
And
my
and Sir Richard Branson is a very nonlinear thinker with
That's right.
dyslexia, and he does things differently. So,
Mhm.
great example. Wow, I didn't
So
know
that's
that.
my lesson that I'm yeah. So I've been advocating for helping inmates, transform their life, to do that kind of stuff. And I think really you want to see problems solved in the world, look towards nonlinear thinkers who are doers and go-getters and the future of what the corporate world should look like. That's my personal opinion. If you want to see a change in the world, you be that change. That's Michael Jackson said it best. So that's my personal opinion again.
Yeah.
I
Not
won-
sponsored.
I wonder if you have enough time with some of these inmates, if you could even encourage the fact that, hey, you don't actually even have to go work for somebody because of your neurodiversity. You can elevate and think differently. You just have never been told that you have a better set of tools for this navigation of things because of your creativity. And people don't understand. You're looking at a former criminal. I was never incarcerated, but I've certainly should have been, to be perfectly straight with everyone. And what happens in that role is you have mental health issues, like you say. You have a massive amount of people they don't know that, and they're in places of poverty, and they aren't in touch with their feelings or whatever, and they don't understand that the buck up and push forward is hurting them, and they end up learning that they can self-medicate, and the self-medication causes addiction, which it did in myself. And once I got above that and realized I'm self-medicating for issues that I have, now I realize I can deal with things. And
Yeah.
these people just need to know, hey, you're not evil because you robbed a store 5 times. I mean, Yermi, I have 2 friends that have been bank robbers in 2 different states. Like I rolled with people that I hope are still alive, I would say today.
Wow.
That, you know what I mean? And those, looking back, man, they were self-medicating. That's all they were doing. They were only operating in survival mode.
Yeah.
There was no
Because
joy,
they had no idea.
no
Darren.
vision. They
Right.
they didn't have permission to not fall into this corporate world.
Yep.
And Yermi, I mean, I'm 2 years into giving myself all in permission to do whatever I want on this ball I'm floating around on with you. And
Mm-hmm.
I am doing what you're doing, where I sit and I don't write as much as probably you do, but I am meditating and praying and believing into things.
Yeah.
I want change. I know I'm different. I know I have to do it differently than I've done it before, and giving myself permission to not fit in. I mean, the only place I fit in is right here. There's nowhere else really, except within the walls of my house. You know,
Yeah.
my greater family doesn't understand me, and that didn't work for me, and da da da. That didn't matter. What I needed was the ability to have permission to be myself, like you said, and it was like one of your first statements. You
Mm-hmm.
are who you are, um, and allowing yourself, even if you've been incarcerated or addicted or done awful things, giving
Mm-hmm.
yourself permission to move on, to write that manifesto. Like, I'm learning how powerful that is, Yermi. And you know what I find is a resistance to
Yeah.
me. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to do it, to write it, to
Mm-hmm.
get it out, because I know, Yermi, once I put it down, like what you're doing, it's locked in.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. Um, I mean, just the things, Perry doesn't know this, but I have things I've written down for the octopus movement. And I'm going to tell you, those things are freaking happening, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yermi, I'm doing video in a state of health where I'm not good, man. I can barely function around my day, but I enter into this and I have life, and then I go, yeah, I'm going to do a video today, because it encourages me to get back into my music and my art and to move on, even though I don't feel well. And that's, I realize, is a tool. It's not a drug, but it feels
Yeah.
like it. It sure as hell feels like it. And we're creating an environment in hopes that there's more people that feel like they can fit in, without any restrictions or rules or identity,
Sure.
neurodiverse tag, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, whatever and whoever you are, you can be that and do that. Um, but why is it so damn hard to write this stuff? What is it?
We're conditioned. Straight up that. We're conditioned to, I don't know, see spirituality as something that enforces us to do something. We see religion as something that demands of us something. We see, all these are conditions. These are all conditions. And let's say, for example, in religion, I talk a lot about this. I say, put away this organized religion. Put that away. And if you go look at, so I'm just saying this because it's so top of mind for me. Last night I was giving a private class to a group of people. I was hired to give a private class to individuals, and they were Jewish religious people, Orthodox people. And we were talking, and there was so much limited mindset in the room that I just felt obligated. I felt it was my responsibility to just break that just for that moment. I said, you guys have to like get out of this, closed-minded sense of way of seeing. I said, in your own Torah, okay, in the Jewish Torah, in Jewish Bible, it talks about God creating the world. And there's a lot of commentary, Jewish commentary. And I started literally bringing them sources. I do have a rabbinical background. So I brought them rabbinical sources that actually talk about how God created the world. And it says that it simply came into God's mind, let's say, right? God is this unlimited, God is this, there's no time and space for God. When was God created? Never, because God was always there. It's hard for us to understand it because of our limitations. So God creates this world that he wanted limited beings to connect somehow to an unlimited being. This is from, scripture. It's actually written. And so I gave them all this information and I said, the moment it goes into your brain, it already comes into existence. The fact that it was able to even come in here means it's potential. It is potential possible to create it. Now it's on you to get creative and to figure out, because you do have a brain, you do have an ability to figure out how to do that. And that scares a lot of people, I think. We're all sort of conditioned to think of like, oh, but what happens if I fail? Or what happens if this? Or what will other people think? Or what will other. And that is this linear way of thinking, that Perry taught me these new terms now. That's this blinded way of thinking. But for example, if I would have listened to all the people that told me, oh, well, you're divorced and you have kids, so you could only marry who's somebody divorced with kids. And I look at them and I tell them, well, how many 22 and 23 and 24-year-olds do you know that are divorced with kids in our community?
Yay!
Does
Yeah.
that mean, and does that mean that now I have to sit around and pray to God that somebody gets divorced and they better have kids because that's the only way I will ever get married? And I was like, F this. Like, it's bullshit. I said it's straight up garbage. It's not true. Whoever invented this rule is got to go check themselves up and I don't know where. It's garbage, And I said, I'm 23 years old. Don't put me in a box. I'm going to go meet other people that are in my, in my world, in my area. And I don't care. I don't want to judge them for their divorce or their background or I just want to meet a person that I could make this world a better place because that's my manifesto. My battle cry is that.
Yeah, I interviewed someone with autism, and I asked him, said, "What do you want from this world? What do you expect? What do you want to change? What tell me what's happening in your thinking?" And he said, "The unwritten rules are killing me."
Yeah.
And I thought it was so beautiful. It's exactly what you're saying. It's the conditioning is the unwritten rules.
Yeah.
And we're all damaged by it. And sometimes it's for the good, of course. It's good to be dressed here and not show up naked because I feel like it. It's not a good thing. Trust me, it's not a good thing. And
that's true.
Yeah. So the unwritten rules are there for a reason, but there's so many of them, and we go overboard, and we're becoming so judgmental. It's incredible. And if you don't follow these unwritten rules in that linear system, you're out.
Right.
But some of us are wired in a different way. We cannot just follow all the unwritten rules. We simply can't because we see too many things. We feel too many things.
Yeah.
We notice too many things. It's impossible. We make too many connections. So
I want to say one thing on this. I just because you're touching on such an important point, and I'm sorry if I'm stopping you.
No.
But this is such a critical. You want to live a thriving life, by the way. Here's the secret, okay? Live beyond the rules.
Yeah.
This you want to thrive in life, live beyond the rules. And I find it so apropos. It's so perfect timing because in today's Torah portion, so we have every week we read another part of the Torah. So this week's Torah portion in our thing is called Chukat. Chukat is a form of rule, okay? So in the Jewish faith, there are three forms of commandments. Ones that make sense, just make sense. So don't kill, don't steal, because it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
These are called judgments. Okay, these are called judgments. So judgments are commandments that make sense. Then there are other commandments that they witness stuff. So we keep the Sabbath because God rested on the seventh day. So we witness the fact that God rested on the seventh day. So we perform a commandment that God told us to also rest on the seventh day. So these are stuff that don't necessarily make sense, but they commemorate something. So that's a second form of commandment. The third one makes absolute no sense. Do not kill a red heifer, and that's going to make you holy. There's no sense to it. There's no logic. There's no nothing. And so commentaries right away ask, what's these three? Why do we have these different kind of rules? And the reason is because we live our life without asking these questions. Well, why should I not kill? Or why should I not? The same way you keep the rules that make no sense, that's how you keep the rules that do make sense. And what it does to you mentally is that it allows you to create a strong foundational moral compass. That's what it does. I don't kill and I don't steal because God said so. And I'm doing it because I want to have a relationship with God. That's me personally. And another thing is, I don't need a government to tell me don't steal, don't kill because you might end up in prison. I don't need that because I don't do it because it's the wrong thing to do, period. I have a strong moral compass. And so my moral compass in my life is all about making this world a better place. So what does it mean to make a world a better place? As Darren was saying, I have my manifesto, my belief system, my observations, my education, the stuff that I was involved with, my experiences, my journeys, stuff that I never planned. Who planned my 2010 terrible year? I didn't plan it. Who planned COVID? I didn't plan it. Who planned, terrible things that are happening in the world? Not me. But how did I respond to it with the same moral compass that's driving me? And yeah, I have to pivot from time to time. I have to change from here and there. But my main goal has never shifted, has never changed. And it's about reaching that destination. It's not about how I get there.
You planned one thing, Jeremy. You planned one thing, and that's marrying a big smile. And
oh yeah. And it
going
worked.
for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
planned that in life. 4 pages to your matchmaker.
Yeah.
I love that story. Yeah.
And she's incredible. She really like the other day we were talking about it, and we had a little bit of a difficulty in our marriage. We did, like every couple, by the way, has. But I
Not
told
me.
my wife,
Not me. Are you kidding
I
me?
told my wife, I looked at her and I said, "There's one thing I'm grateful for." I said, "We have communication tools. We have a goal. We have a common goal." I said, "We're in this more than just for us. If it's just for me and her and whatever, we have a lot of disagreements. There's a lot of things that we don't agree upon." But I said, at the end of the day, we have something to fall back on and say, we have a mission. We have a goal. We have a target that we need to hit. How do we work through our differences and meet that goal?
Yeah.
And that is something that we're forever grateful for. That
Your
is the
common
key
goal.
to, yeah, that is a key to good relationships. That's a key to good business. That's a key to everything. When you tell your team, okay, team, we're having a little bit of difficulty in our business or whatever, should we go remote or should we go back to the office, right? There's this big question that everybody's asking. Well, we have a common goal. How do we achieve this common goal and actually make it work? So if you could work at home and you could achieve the same goal and same capacity, go for it. Go do it. If you're going to work better in the office, then go for it. Work, do it, whatever it takes. If we focus on the common goal and the common theme and forget about everything else, success is right there.
Yermi, coming full circle, like as you started, I felt like I didn't enter my marriage with any kind of idea, but now I'm really realizing I knew I wanted to be a dad when I was about 10 or 11. I was like, I didn't like my situation, and I'm
Sure.
like, I can do this differently, and I want to have all these experiences. I don't know where that came from. And then I meet my wife, right? Or now my wife. We're on our 25th year of marriage.
Wow.
And she's
And
very funny. She was on the show,
she's
Darren.
incredibly funny.
That's
Not
incredible.
only that, she was a Marine as well, Yermi. So
Wow.
we both have come from rough upbringing, hard shape, and the Marines was our eject button that we thought was going to be like this safe place. Not true. It did give us tools to get the hell out of Dodge, and we found each other somehow. And what all we agreed upon was that, hey, if we're going to do this, I'm not going to do this if you think this isn't forever. And
Right.
we're in our Marine camis out on our balcony of my barracks, and we had a cry. I'm 19, man. I can't even believe that. And I'm going, I'm not doing this with you if you think there's a way out, because I watched both my parents do that 3 times.
Right.
And she's like, all right. And here we are. We've battled hard, man. Life has not
Yes.
been good.
Right.
We've had addiction, crime, infidelity, all these things, man. And
Wow.
here we are in our 25th year. She's
Wow.
my ride or die best friend, and she's amazing. And again, going back, the agreement was we're going to stay through it no matter what. And damn it, we are. That's crazy. Thank you for reminding me of like those ideas are that important. And damn
Sure.
it, they're powerful. So be careful
You got
what
to be
you wish
committed to it.
for.
Yeah, but you got to be
know.
committed to it. I heard commitment in your
Oh
story.
yeah. Gee,
Your
I mean,
story
we are committed. Yeah.
screams commitment. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the key.
Yeah. Right now, she's picking me up while I'm down. She's an amazing human. You know, she's awesome.
You know what I love about this episode today with Nonlinear Shenanigans with Jeremy? Look at us talking about our spouses, our wives, our loved ones, and
Mhm.
we're three suckers, so happy with our wives, and
Yeah,
it's. I think it's wonderful, and thank you, Jeremy, for being with us.
sure.
Thank you
Thank you
for
for having me.
sharing all of it, and I
Mhm.
hope you will stay in touch. Thank you, everybody, for listening,
Same.
watching us,
Yeah.
being engaged with us. This was fantastic. We will all see you next week. Jeremy, thank you so much. And when you come home, oh, you're already home, but when she comes home, please say hi to her
I will.
and tell her she's wonderful. We think she's wonderful, right, Darren?
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for having. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
See you.
Beautiful conversation today.